Hello students, are you all ready to understand a new concept that I am going to bring before you today? Well, we are on the topic of understanding relations from a set to a set. And how are they obtained? Basically, you are supposed to obtain the subsets of the set A cross B. And all those subsets of A cross B, whether they are obtained with the help of a rule or a condition imposed on the ordered pairs of A cross B, or they are obtained just randomly by picking up few members from A cross B and forming a subset. Whether from the first category or from the second category, any subset of A cross B is called a relation from A to B. The point that I am going to stress on right now is something which is very interesting. The ordered pairs which are being borrowed from A cross B and landing in the set R, which is the subset of A cross B, are the objects of study for now. That means now we are going to focus on the ordered pairs which are lying in the set R, which are already belonging to the set A cross B, and therefore the topic of this study happens to be domain and range of a relation from A to the set B. Focus on this statement, which actually is stressing on two new words. One is the domain and one is the range. Of course, we are very much thorough with the concept of relation from A to B. We know that relations from a set to another set are just subsets of A cross B. The new objects of concern are these two words. One is the domain of a relation and the other is the range of a relation. So what is the domain and the range of a relation? As I said, from now we are going to focus on the ordered pairs which are lying in the subset of A cross B. Therefore, in order to understand the concept, let me bring before you an example. Suppose I give you a set which is A, and A has the members 1, 2, 3 and 4. And there's another set B given which has members 4, 5, 6 and 7. The moment I have set A and set B and I want to study the relation from A to B, I am in a quest to find a subset of A cross B. And that subset, as I said, can be obtained either from a rule or randomly. Suppose I give you the rule given by, let R be a relation from A to B such that, what is my R? I know that the relation from A to B is always a subset of A cross B. That means this R, which is a relation from A to B, this particular A and this particular B is also a subset of the Cartesian product of this A and this B. Inside the Cartesian product of A and B, we have ordered pairs sitting with first element coming from the first set A and second element coming from the second set B. And therefore, if R is a subset of A cross B, what I want to actually stress on is that even R is going to have ordered pairs because it is a part of A cross B. That means it will be obtained by borrowing certain members from A cross B. And what are the members of A cross B? They are ordered pairs. And therefore, R is going to borrow some ordered pairs from A cross B and is going to come into existence. Therefore, R also, which is a subset of A cross B, is going to have certain ordered pairs only as its members. That is what I am going to write in this description, which is R is actually the set of ordered pairs. This is super obvious because it is borrowing elements from A cross B only. But am I borrowing every ordered pair from the set A cross B? Well, if I just end the statement here, this would mean R is the collection of all the ordered pairs which belong to A cross B. And therefore, R will be equal to A cross B if up till here the statement which is written means that borrow all XY's ordered pairs from A cross B. Therefore, R will be equal to A cross B. But I am not interested in all the ordered pairs of A cross B. What I am interested in is just collect those ordered pairs from A cross B such that the second element, which is Y, is equal to first element plus 1. This is what I want to stress on. That means I am not interested in all the ordered pairs of A cross B. I am only interested in those ordered pairs of A cross B which actually satisfy this rule of second element being obtained by adding 1 to the first element. Now over here there's another point which is to be noted, and that is the X, which is the first element of the ordered pair, is always going to come from the first set, and the second element of the ordered pair is always going to come from the second set, which is this B. Until and unless X and Y do not both satisfy that X is coming from this particular A and Y is coming from this B, I am not allowed to write that ordered pair inside R, even if it satisfies the condition. Let me show you what I'm trying to say. In order to obtain R, I need those ordered pairs from A cross B, where A is this and B is this, in which the second element is nothing but first element plus 1. X is coming from A. What all A has? A has a 1, a 2, a 3 and a 4. That means X has possibilities 1, 2, 3 and 4. These are the possibilities for X, because X is the first element of the ordered pair and first elements always come from the first set. Whereas the second element, which is Y, has the possibilities which are the members of the set B, 4, 5, 6 and 7. This means X can only take values from among these and Y can only take values from 4, 5, 6, 7. There is no other value which Y can take, and there is no other value apart from these which X is allowed to take. These are the possible values of X and Y. Now is the time to understand what the rule says. Pick up all the X's. Now X over here, the first X is 1. The very first element of the first set A is 1, right? This implies if X is 1 and I put Y is equal to X plus 1, this X is 1, so when I add 1 to 1, I get a 2. This means if I put X equal to 1, which yes is the right option, there is a possibility that X can be 1. Therefore, if I put X equal to 1, I am getting my Y equal to 2 by this particular rule. And therefore, with this X1, I am getting a Y equal to 2, and this implies the ordered pair I am obtaining is 1, 2. Now this 1, 2 ordered pair is a pair wherein the second element is obtained by adding 1 to the first element. That means this ordered pair 1, 2 is satisfying this rule of Y equal to X plus 1. But this is not satisfying the latter condition that X is coming from A and Y is coming from B. Because if you observe the ordered pair 1, 2, of course this particular 1 is coming from the set A. 1 is belonging to A, and that is why X was allowed to take 1 as the value. But if you observe 2, 2 is not belonging to the set B because there is no 2 inside set B. Set B has 4, 5, 6 and 7. That is why even if the ordered pair 1, 2 is satisfying the rule which is given over here, which says that the second element should be obtained by adding 1 to the first element, even then this ordered pair is not making a place inside the set R because it says that the first element of the ordered pair should necessarily come from A and the second element should necessarily come from B. Because until and unless this condition is satisfied, this x, y will not be a member of A cross B. Whereas we are just trying to form a subset of A cross B, therefore we are collecting members of A cross B. Until and unless x is coming from A and y is coming from B, this tuple cannot be a member of A cross B and hence cannot be borrowed from A cross B. So how can this tuple enter into R? Therefore, because over here y was creating a problem of not coming from B, 1, 2 ordered pair even after satisfying the rule is not going to make a place inside the subset R of A cross B. Moving to the next element, which is now for x equal to 2. The next possibility for x, what is it that I am going to obtain my y as? Y is given to be x plus 1. That is what I am interested in. And for x plus 1 when x equals to 2 gives me 2 plus 1 which is 3, and therefore when I take x equal to 2, the y that I am obtaining by this particular rule has to be equal to 3, thereby giving me the ordered pair x, y or 2, 3. Can I say that this ordered pair is satisfying the rule that the second element of the ordered pair is obtained by adding 1 to the first element? Yes, of course, if you consider this ordered pair 2, 3, we have already constructed it in a very smart way which already portrays that the second element which is 3 will be obtained by adding 1 to the first element which is 2. But can I say that this ordered pair, because it satisfies the rule of y equal to x plus 1, is going to be a member of the set R? Because R has members which satisfy the rule. So yes, 2, 3 is satisfying the rule. So can I put it inside R? No, because this statement is not yet completed. It says inside me are ordered pairs which satisfy the rule along with satisfying the condition that the first element of the ordered pair should come from the first set and second element should come from the second set. Over here, this ordered pair, yes, it satisfies the rule, but it doesn't satisfy the condition of elements belonging in R completely. Because the second condition which says that the x should come from A and y should come from B is violated over here. Yes, 2 is very much coming from the set A because A has a 2 inside it if you see. But the second element which is 3 is not coming from B because B doesn't have a 3. That is why yes, 2, 3 is satisfying the rule, but it doesn't satisfy the latter condition, because of which this particular claim is not correct. And 2, 3, even if 2 is a member belonging to the set A, but because 3 is not belonging to B, it is 3 which is the small y's part which is creating a problem, and therefore 2, 3 is not a member of A cross B even. And therefore, how can I borrow it and put it inside R? For borrowing members of A cross B, first of all, that member should be in A cross B. But because 3 is not belonging to B, 2, 3 cannot be a member of A cross B. So how can I borrow it and put it inside R? And that is why 2, 3 does not make its position inside the set R. Moving to the third possibility of x, which says that if x is equal to 3, what is the y that I wish to obtain? I want a y corresponding to x equal to 3, which is obtained by adding 1 to my x. Because my x is 3, y is nothing but x plus 1. Over here x is 3, so I get 3 plus 1 and that gives me 4. Because corresponding to x equal to 3, by applying this rule I get y equal to 4. This implies the ordered pair x comma y happens to be 3 comma 4. Can I over here say that 3 comma 4 is a member of R? Let's go and check which members R is keeping inside it. R is keeping those ordered pairs inside it which not only satisfy the rule but also satisfy an extra condition of the first element coming from this A and the second element coming from this B. So for 3 comma 4 to be a member of this set R, it should not just satisfy the rule but also satisfy this extra condition. Is it satisfying both these conditions? Well, if I go and observe 3 comma 4, yes, the first element 3 is coming from the first set A. We know that because 3 is very much inside set A. And if I go and observe the second element, which from the previous two cases is creating a problem repeatedly, is now perfect. Because yes, 4 is coming from the set B because there is a 4 sitting inside set B. And that is why 3 comma 4, because it is obtained only in such a way that it satisfies the rule, it not just satisfies the rule of y equal to x plus 1 or the second element being obtained by adding 1 to the first element. In fact, it also satisfies this extra condition, and that is why corresponding to x equal to 3, the element obtained 3 comma 4 is very much inside the set R. And this is when the first element of R has been obtained by us, because 4, which was the y element, the second element, did not create any problem here. Moving to the last element which x can assume, I have, suppose my x is 4. That is the last possibility which x can have. Well, if x is 4, what is that y corresponding to which x comma y can come and land inside R? Because corresponding to x equal to 1, there is no y in the set B corresponding to which x comma y, which means 1 comma y, can belong to set R. Corresponding to x equal to 2 also, there is no y in set B corresponding to which 2 comma y, where y is coming from B, this ordered pair is a member of set R. But corresponding to x equal to 3, there is a member in set B which is 4, such that 3 comma 4 comes and sits as a member in set R. The question is corresponding to 4, there exists a y in B such that 4 comma y ordered pair sits in the set R, which can only happen if that 4 comma y ordered pair satisfies both these conditions. So, as we were proceeding, let's proceed the same way. If x is equal to 4 and y is equal to x plus 1, this means your y in this particular case happens to be 4 plus 1, which makes it a 5. That means with x equal to 4, if I want a y which is going to satisfy my rule, that y has to be necessarily equal to 5. No other y can fit over here if x is equal to 4, which can satisfy the rule of y equal to x plus 1. Therefore, with this x, the y which satisfies the rule is coming out to be just one y, and that is y equal to 5, thereby giving me the ordered pair 4 comma 5 corresponding to x comma y, such that y equal to x plus 1, because yes, 5 equals 4 plus 1. The question is, yes, this ordered pair satisfies the rule, but does it satisfy that x comes from A and y comes from B with this A and this B? Let's go and check. The x that I have here is 4. 4 is very much coming from set A. Of course, x is not creating a problem. And if I go to the next element, which is 5, is 5, which is the second element of the ordered pair, coming from set B, which is over here? Yes, of course, there is a 5 in set B, which I have listed here because y can assume possible values as 5 also. And that is why corresponding to x equal to 4, there is a y, namely 5, which satisfies both the conditions, therefore giving me that the ordered pair 4, 5 is a member of R. That is it. All the values of the first set 1, 2, 3 and 4 were considered one by one, and we actually saw corresponding to each of these, is there any y which is going to satisfy both the conditions and make the ordered pair x, y come and sit inside R. And from this particular procedure, we just obtained that two ordered pairs 3, 4 and 4, 5 actually qualify to come and sit inside R out of all the ordered pairs of A cross B. Because out of all the members of A cross B, only and only these two ordered pairs satisfy both the conditions and therefore come and sit inside R, thereby giving me R having only two members of A cross B, 3, 4 and 4, 5. Now this R definitely is a subset of A cross B. That is what we already knew because we had obtained R to be a subset of A cross B. The point was that the rule was given to you. Here the relation is given in the set builder form, and the task was to be able to look at the members which are sitting inside R, because of which we did all these procedures and actually brought our relation R in the roster form. The concept of the domain and range where we are in, which is the domain and range of a relation from A to B, it is always advisable to work with relations in the roster form. In the last two lectures, we discussed the different techniques and ways in which you can represent a relation from A to B. Out of them, the first method was the roster form representation. I am going to personally advise and suggest you to be thorough with the roster form technique of representing a relation, because the concept of domain and range becomes a cakewalk when you have the relation in the roster form. The question over here did not give me the relation in the roster form. It gave me a rule governing the members which sit inside R. It didn't give me the members which sit inside R. I did not know which ordered pairs from A cross B are coming and sitting in R. I just knew the rule, the condition, the restriction placed on the ordered pairs which is going to make them land inside R from A cross B. I could not see the members explicitly, and therefore I had to do this procedure to actually be able to look at which ordered pairs come and sit inside R, which are 3, 4 and 4, 5. Now the question comes, why am I again and again stressing on the roster representation of relation? Because the moment you are able to look at the ordered pairs which are sitting in the relation, the concept of domain and range becomes cakewalk for you. How? Well, for the domain and the range, the focus should completely be on the first and the second elements of the ordered pairs sitting in the set R. Let me write in an elaborative way. The first ordered pair sitting as the member inside R is 3, 4. Let's study this ordered pair corresponding to the first and the second component of this ordered pair. Now, this is an element of R, which is the relation. The first component of this ordered pair, which is a member of R, is 3. What is the second component? Well, the second component which is making this ordered pair sitting at the second position is the number 4. This completes my study of the first element of the set R. We are just left with one more member of set R. The second ordered pair which is sitting inside R is 4, 5. Let us study that as well. Well, the first component of the ordered pair 4, 5 comes from the first element of that ordered pair, which is 4 over here. And therefore, first component over here is 4. Looking at the second component of the same ordered pair sitting at the second position has to be equal to 5 over here. And this completes my study of the second element sitting inside the set R. If there would have been more members in R, I would have studied them as well. But because R has just 2 ordered pairs, this is the study of both of them. What I focused on over here was the first component and the second component of every ordered pair sitting in the set R. Why did I do that? Let's make a set of first components. And again now make a set of second components. I know that all the ordered pairs which sit inside the set R have their first and second components respectively. Collect the distinct first components and collect the distinct second components. Well, the first component is 3 and the second first component is 4. Both of them are distinct. Therefore, 3 and 4, this is the set of the first components of the ordered pairs sitting in the set R. Now, if I move on to collecting the distinct second components, I have 4 as the first second component and 5 as the second component. Therefore, 4 and 5 give me the set of second components of the ordered pairs which sit in the set R. In this way, I have obtained the set of all the first components which are making the ordered pairs in the set R and the set of all the second components which are making the ordered pairs in the set R. Why did I do this? Well, the set of all the first components, if you collect from the ordered pair sitting in the set R, which is the relation from A to B, this particular set is what is called the domain of the relation R. So what is the domain? You just need to look at the ordered pairs and collect the distinct first components of all the ordered pairs. That is what we did. We looked at the first ordered pair. The first component was 3. We just collected it. Moving to the next ordered pair. What was the first component which made that ordered pair? 4 was the first component. We selected that also. And now that we have the first components of all the ordered pairs inside R, we made a set of all those first components. And that set, my friends, is what is called the domain of R, which is this particular R. Moving to what is the set of second components called? Well, definitely because the other new concept was range, your intuition is absolutely in the right direction because yes, this set of second components is what is called the range of the set R, which is my relation from A to B. This concept of domain and range is hence shown over here through this example. Once you have successfully obtained R in the roster form, it is very easy to just pick up the first elements which are 3 and 4 in both the ordered pairs and pick up the second elements which are 4 and 5 from both the ordered pairs. Just make a set of the first elements, set of the second elements, declare this as the domain of this relation and this as the codomain of this relation. This interesting concept is now asking for your attention and focus. So quickly understand it and wait for the formal discussion wherein we are going to formally write what domain of an arbitrary relation is and what range of an arbitrary relation is. This concept of domain and range of a relation basically gives importance to the first and the second components of all the ordered pairs which make R and make it come into existence. And that is why it is very important to understand what formally the concept of domain and range says when you have an arbitrary relation in picture. This example basically gave us two ordered pairs inside the relation R, and we deduced the meaning of domain and range of a relation with the help of these two ordered pairs, or by understanding the first elements of these two ordered pairs and second elements of these two ordered pairs. And now is the time to understand what is the meaning of domain and range of a relation when you have an arbitrary setup. The concept says, let R be any relation from A to B. Now this R can be obtained by a rule which was happening in the last case that we considered in the example. Or you can even obtain R randomly without any rule, just directly in the roster form you are going to obtain it. In the last example which we did, we had to work hard to obtain from the set builder form the roster form of the same relation. But if you don't follow any rule, you can directly pick up members from A cross B and have your R in the roster form. In both the cases, this concept will be understood. So let R be any relation either from the rule obtained or obtained randomly from A to B, which means that R is a subset of A cross B, the Cartesian product of A and B. What happens is, then the set of all the first components of the ordered pairs in R is called the domain of the relation R. And the notation for this is DOM inside the bracket R. This is what is the notation in order to write the domain of the relation R. The same thing which we understood through an example is being said over here in the arbitrary setup. It is saying that the set of all the first components of the ordered pairs in R. Consider all the ordered pairs in R and collect all the first components of the ordered pairs which are not sitting in A cross B but inside R. Now because I am already writing set, over here I have not written that collect all the distinct first components from all the ordered pairs. But it is obvious that you have to pick up distinct first components only. If a first component is being repeated in two ordered pairs sitting in the set R, you cannot take it twice because inside a set, repetition, my friends, is not allowed. That is why the word distinct is hidden in the word set. the moment I have written set of all first components, you have to understand that you cannot repeatedly take the same first component twice. Similarly, set of all the second components of all the ordered pairs in the relation R is called range of the relation R. And this also has a notation attached to it, which is completely you have to write the range, then put the bracket and inside it put R of whose range is concerned in the context. If we try and focus on the definition of range, it is saying the set of all the second components of the ordered pairs in R. That means again, when you consider all the ordered pairs of R, you have to keep your focus on the second components of all the ordered pairs. Just keep your focus on the second components of all the ordered pairs in R and collect them. Now, when you are collecting them, watch out for this that you don't collect repeated members. Only collect distinct second components, because after collecting, we are going to make a set out of it, and that set cannot contain the same member twice. That is why when you are collecting the second components from all the ordered pairs in R, do not repeat the member, because over here also it is a set that we are concerned with. The range of a relation is a set. The domain of a relation is a set, and that is why repeating members in both domain and range is not allowed. Suppose there is a relation from a set A to a set B. There is one more new name after studying the domain and range. Another new terminology is actually of the codomain of a relation. What is the codomain of a relation? If R is a relation from the set A to the set B, then the set B is called codomain of R. This is the very easy concept of codomain of a relation. The set to which I am sending my relation. That means if R is a relation from A to the set B, whichever is the latter set of whose Venn diagram in the arrow diagram approach is drawn afterwards, is the set which is called the codomain of R. Now, what is, do you think, the relation between codomain, domain and range? Suppose I again pick up the same example which we just did. Inside it we had A equal to 1, 2, 3 and 4 and B was equal to 4, 5, 6 and 7. After understanding the relation which said that inside R I had 3, 4 and 4, 5, after studying this step, we obtained the domain of this relation to be equal to 3, 4, this particular set of all the first components, and the range of the same relation R happened to be 4, 5, the set of distinct second components of the ordered pairs in the relation R. Over here I have given you what A is, what B is, what domain is, and what the range is of this relation. What is the relationship between all these four? It is obvious that inside the domain we are picking up first components of the ordered pairs. And first components always come from the first set involved in the Cartesian product. That is why domain is always going to contain members which are borrowed from set A. You can see this. 3, 4 is coming in the domain, and because the domain is the collection of all first elements, the first components of the ordered pairs, and they are borrowed from the first set A, that is why over here domain of R is a subset of the set A, because I have borrowed members from A to obtain the domain. Similarly, if you look at the range, range is the collection of all second components of the ordered pairs. The second components always come from the second set which is involved in the Cartesian product. And because we were understanding A cross B, B was the second set, and that is why you can visually also see that the range is actually obtained by borrowing 4 and 5 from B, which is the second set, because I have collected second components. That is why range of R is a subset of the set B. But because A cross B is concerned and R was a relation from A to B, this definition says that B is nothing but codomain of R, because the notation for codomain is just write codomain and whichever relation is concerned, keep it inside the braces. Now this particular thing which we observed from the example is not just restricted to this example, but is in itself a true concept. Always the domain is going to be a subset of the first set involved in the Cartesian product, because we are borrowing first components inside the domain from A. And the range is always going to be a subset of the codomain of the relation, which is the second set in the Cartesian product, because in the range we are considering the second components of the ordered pairs, which are always going to come from the set B, which is the second set in the Cartesian product. Therefore, at this concept, I close the session of relationship between the four new things, the domain, range, codomain, and my set A. Next time is going to be another new concept brought before you. Till then, study well and take care. Goodbye.